The Zarkathi did not believe in subtlety. Their arrival was heralded not by scouts or quiet diplomacy, but by a hemispheric shadow cast over the Pacific. 57 obsidian-black warships emerged from fold space, blotting out the stars like bruises across the night. They issued a single message in over 2,000 languages. You have 12 hours to surrender. Your compliance ensures survival. Your resistance ensures extinction. Most of Earth's population never saw the message. The broadcast was hijacked, memed, and auto-tuned into a chart-topping remix before the hour was out. By the time global governments convened, TikTok had already weaponized the alien threat into a dance challenge. But 4 individuals weren't wasting time dancing. In an underground command center beneath Geneva, a mismatched quartet sat around a scarred war table. The room, hastily converted from a UN storage bunker, still smelled faintly of mothballs and diplomatic failure. Captain Maya Reyes leaned forward, sharp eyes scanning the blurry satellite feed of the Zarkathi fleet. Former UN peacekeeper turned crisis response tactician, Maya was the only one in the room who looked like she belonged in a military situation. "We don't have hours," she said flatly. "We have minutes before boots hit dirt. And right now, Earth's best strategy is arguing over whose missile codes still work." Across from her, Gene Park popped a jelly bean into his mouth and adjusted his cracked laptop with a dramatic sigh. "Missiles are a joke. They'll intercept anything we throw at them. But..." He tapped the screen, which displayed a chaotic string of alien data. "I cracked their linguistic framing protocol. Barely. If I can map it to our telecom satellites, I can flood their command network with corrupted syntax. In English?" Maya asked. "In K-pop lyrics and toaster manuals." Gene replied, grinning. "You want chaos? I can serve with a glitchy beat." "Not the worst plan," came a voice from the far end of the table. Anya Patel, philosopher, linguist, and, by virtue of her persistent habit of asking, "But what does that mean?" The soul of the team looked calm, too calm. She spoke with a kind of deliberate grace that made even wild ideas sound plausible. "Their language structure is rigid, almost ceremonial. No room for metaphor. No idioms, no sarcasm. They'll have no defense against conceptual ambiguity." She looked to Maya. "We don't need to fight them conventionally. We just need to confuse them." "Speaking of confusion," drawled Tex Johnson from his folding chair in the corner, "I jury-rigged a bunch of those industrial microwaves from the canteen. If we aim 'em right, might just fry a few alien sensors when they touch down." Tex, ex-rodeo star, survivalist, and unlicensed inventor, wore mirrored sunglasses indoors and chewed gum like it was a form of rebellion. Nobody was quite sure how he got invited to this emergency task force. Nobody had asked. Maya pinched the bridge of her nose. "So our defense strategy currently includes philosophy, pop culture, and appliance warfare. Plus glitter," Tex added. "Picked up 6 pounds of it at a craft store in Basel. We're going to make one hell of a welcome mat." Silence stretched. Maya looked around the room, then gave a humorless chuckle. "God help me, this might actually work." Above them, global air defense grids were blinking red. Reports flooded in. Alien landing craft sighted near major population centers: New York, Tokyo, Cairo, Rio. Civilian panic was escalating. Government stalled behind protocol. The Zarkathi were moving with surgical efficiency. But Earth was not surgical. It was chaotic, messy, deeply, infuriatingly human. And that was something the aliens had not prepared for. 3 hours earlier, the Zarkathi high strategist had reviewed Earth's profile: low galactic tech rating, disorganized governance, fragmented culture, the classification, suitable for rapid subjugation. He had not factored in Tex Johnson zip-tying a raccoon to a stolen Segway armed with flashbangs. He had not accounted for Gene Park's corrupted signal loop that tricked 4 warships into thinking Earth's atmosphere was composed entirely of cinnamon. He had certainly not considered Anya Patel's live-stream philosophical debate about consciousness that stalled 2 alien AI units mid-drop to compute what it meant to dream of electric sheep. Back in the Geneva bunker, Maya stared at the team as they finalized preparations. "Our job isn't to win. It's to buy time. Make them think Earth is more trouble than it's worth." 3 hours, Jean said. Give me 3 hours, and I can scramble their command links. 2, Anya replied, and I can flood their perception feeds with recursive paradoxes. I just need one, Tex grinned. To make history and maybe barbecue. Maya smiled despite herself. Maybe Earth didn't need a coordinated military response. Maybe it needed this. A linguist with a conscience, a hacker with a sweet tooth, a cowboy with a death wish, and one tired soldier trying to keep it all together. She keyed the secure comms. Team Misfit is active. Commence operation. Full send. The first Zarkothi lander touched down in rural Kentucky. It was met by a weaponized combine harvester, 6 confused cows, and a banner that read, "Welcome to Earth, home of chaos, barbecue, and unnecessary capital letters." The Zarkothi landed expecting resistance. They just hadn't anticipated this kind of resistance. Lander 4B deployed in downtown Los Angeles, its hull still hissing with heat as the shock troopers fanned out in formation. 12-foot-tall armored enforcers stepped into the smoggy morning, scanning for hostile activity. They were met with a crowd of humans waving smartphones. The Zarkothi hesitated. The humans didn't run. They danced. A synth-heavy track blared from portable speakers. The troopers, trained to expect kinetic retaliation, froze at the sight of synchronized gyrations and someone doing what their translator identified as the worm. Then 1,000 push notifications exploded across their comms, tagging them in the hashtag Zarkothi Challenge. Confusion wasn't the Zarkothi playbook, but it was rapidly becoming the dominant strategy on Earth. Los Angeles is stalling them with interpretive dance, Maya said, watching a feed from a traffic cam. Better than our tanks did in Berlin, Gene muttered, swiping through his tablet. They learned how to counter missiles. They still don't know what to do when a flash mob blocks their path with inflatable flamingos. Anya leaned over, tapping the screen. Focus here, Cairo. They're avoiding places with large sound clusters. Too much conflicting input scrambles their internal navigation. I can amplify that effect. Already on it, Gene said. I'm bouncing that corrupted syntax loop off 6 language learning apps. It's currently translating their orders into Klingon, emoji, and something my toaster just called pirate speak. Tex entered the command room with singed eyebrows and an unlit cigar. That prototype microwave cannon shorted out after 3 shots. But on the bright side, I accidentally cooked a Zarkothi drone mid-flight. Smelled like burnt rubber and justice. Maya glanced at him. Where's the raccoon? Retired. He's got PTSD and a Dorito addiction now. Despite the insanity, it was working. Reports from the field were chaotic, but consistent. Zarkothi units stalling, hesitating, backtracking. Not due to human firepower, but sheer unpredictability. Civilians played loud bagpipes near landing zones. Teenagers launched holographic pranks that made walls appear to bleed. Someone in Sydney deployed a swarm of AI-driven kites shaped like screaming cats. The invasion was unraveling under 1,000 cuts of absurdity. Maya sat at the center of the chaos, orchestrating madness like a general leading a parade that doubled as a bar fight. New dropship incoming, she said. Rural Iowa. Tex. He already had his hat. Say no more. The Zarkothi thought they were landing in farmland. Technically, they were correct. What they didn't factor in was Tex Johnson's personal playground of scrapyard nightmares. He waited for them atop a silo repurposed into a watchtower, sipping instant coffee. As the alien ram descended, he radioed the welcome committee. A caravan of modified vehicles ranging from souped-up golf carts to a riding mower with twin leaf-blower exhausts. With a thunderous whoop, they charged. The first wave of Zarkothi was hit with compressed glitter bombs. Their optics flooded with false visual data. Then came the turkeys, frozen solid and launched from a repurposed carnival cannon, shattering armor plates with kinetic force no one could have predicted. Tex, piloting an ATV rig with flamethrower and duct tape fireworks, crashed through their flank shouting, "Yeehaw, you space lizards!" To the Zarkothi, it was not combat. It was psychological breakdown. They retreated. Back in Geneva, Maya stared at the updated tactical map. They're pulling out of rural sectors, prioritizing city centers, but slower than before. Anya nodded. They're adapting, but not effectively. Their doctrine is too inflexible. They're trying to match us with logic, but our logic doesn't translate. They assumed we'd fight like them, Maya said. We didn't. Jean tapped into an open feed. Listen to this. From the Zarkathi command ship, a voice crackled in translation. Subject species displays chaotic response patterns. No clear hierarchy. Decentralized resistance. Combat engagement increasingly inefficient. Probability of contamination rising. Anya blinked. Contamination? Not biological. Jean said. Conceptual. They're scared they'll catch our ideas. Maya frowned. Then let's give them something worth fearing. By hour 2 of invasion, Earth looked less like a battlefield and more like a planet-wide prank war. In Tokyo, bullet trains blared opera through hack speakers, creating localized sonic dissonance that paralyzed alien scouts. In Nairobi, art students painted a 100-meter-wide optical illusion that made an entire plaza appear to collapse. In Amsterdam, someone reprogrammed a Zarkathi drone swarm to perform synchronized skywriting. It drew a massive, anatomically correct duck. Across continents, resistance looked more like improvisational theater than warfare. But the Zarkathi were not laughing. Their advance stalled. Coordination fractured. Internal AI units began to shut down, overwhelmed by contradictory sensory data. Maya stood before the updated war table, noting alien withdrawal from 12 previously occupied zones. Jean finally let out a whoop. They're falling back. Tex threw an arm around Maya's shoulder. Told ya. Ain't nothing more terrifying than a planet full of bored humans with internet access and no adult supervision. But Maya wasn't smiling yet. They're regrouping. This isn't over. Anya spoke softly. No, but I think it's tipping. They came expecting order. What they found was us. Far above Earth, in the dim-lit command bridge of the Zarkathi flagship, the high strategist stared at the chaos below. His claws tapped against the armrest. 3 hours, he muttered. A subordinate approached, trembling. High One, the humans are not to be engaged further, the strategist snapped. Recall all surface units. Prepare jump vector. The subordinate hesitated. We're retreating? No, the strategist growled. We are escaping. The Zarkathi did not like to admit failure. They also didn't have a word for disaster spiral fueled by memes, glitter, and philosophical anarchy. But Earth was forcing them to invent one. Back in the Geneva bunker, Maya Reyes paced like a metronome wound too tight. Screens blinked with data, alien ship movements, global resistance feeds, and a steadily growing collection of viral prank compilations. Why aren't they leaving? She muttered. They've halted planetary advancement, but they're not initiating withdrawal. They're watching, Anya said, quiet but certain. She was seated cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by handwritten notes. Testing. Looking for patterns. Jean, nose deep in a pile of open-source network code, added, They're not just confused anymore. They're afraid of losing control. Our tactics are spreading globally and virally. This is no longer resistance. It's contagion. Tex, currently assembling a slingshot the size of a small SUV out of exercise bands and discarded scaffolding, didn't look up. Y'all are overthinking. They ain't soldiers anymore. They're cornered animals with math degrees. Maya crossed her arms. They're regrouping for a strike. A real one this time. Anya shook her head. No, if they wanted to flatten us, they would have already. What they're doing now, it's analysis. They're trying to understand us. Jean swiveled around, excitement lighting up his face. Which means we still have a window. If we overload their ability to analyze us, force their internal systems to process contradictions faster than they can adapt, we might push them to break completely. Maya looked skeptical. You want to confuse them harder? No, Anya replied. We want to show them what it truly means to be human. Tex tossed her a wrench. You mean stubborn, reckless, and allergic to instruction manuals? Exactly. By hour 2.5 of the invasion, the Zarkathi situation had become untenable. Entire battalions had gone dark after being exposed to recursive logic traps seeded into Earth's data cloud. Drones caught glimpses of graffiti-tagged paradoxes. Statements like, "I lied when I said I was lying," projected in 20-foot neon. A fleet AI stopped responding after streaming an entire season of a sitcom with no resolution. One commander reported hallucinating a vending machine that sold existential dread. In retaliation, the Zarkathi launched a coordinated pulse meant to suppress Earth's digital infrastructure. It backfired catastrophically. The pulse triggered a defensive protocol on Earth's side, a failsafe engineered decades ago, never intended to be used, and definitely never tested. It connected every hacked satellite, fridge, smart toaster, and dating app into a single feedback loop. Tex dubbed it Project Oh No. Jin's eyes gleamed as he watched the system go live. We've turned the internet into a weaponized neural net of confusion and cat videos. Their fleet is processing 700,000 inputs per second, none of which makes sense. Maya took a deep breath. We're doing it. We're pushing them over the edge. Anya looked thoughtful. No, they're pushing themselves. We're just holding up the mirror. On board the Zarkathi flagship, the high strategist stood frozen before a holoscreen. Streams of incomprehensible data poured in. Contradictory images, illogical human expressions, emotional outbursts without purpose. He clenched his claws around the command rail. "Nothing makes sense," he hissed. "Sir," a junior officer squeaked. "These creatures build machines that do not serve function. They engage in mimicry of war, only to laugh. They contradict themselves constantly, then claim truth." "Should we re-engage?" the officer asked. The high strategist turned, eyes glowing. "Re-engage with what?" "A species that builds floating bathtubs and calls it protest art? A civilization that programs their weapons to sing lullabies." He paused. "They do not fear annihilation. They do not seek dominion. They seek connection, even in madness." The officer blinked. "Isn't that a weakness?" The strategist stared into the chaotic stream. "I don't think it is." Back on Earth, in the makeshift command center, Maya gathered the team. "This is it," she said. "We got their attention. We either end this now or we give them time to adapt." Gene looked up from his code. "What's the play?" Maya turned to Anya. "You said we needed to show them who we really are. Do it." Anya nodded, stepping forward. She connected to the uplink, hacked into the alien comms, and began to speak. Her words weren't aggressive. They weren't tactical. They were human. She told them of dreams, of stories passed down through generations, of music and messiness, of choosing to love in a universe that didn't require it, of creativity born not of necessity, but of curiosity, of pain that forged resilience and absurdity that forged joy. She told the Zarkathi what it meant to feel small in a galaxy and still matter. The signal transmitted, raw and unfiltered, through every hijacked satellite. Even the Zarkathi couldn't ignore it. Silence followed. Then a single word from the alien command feed. Incomprehensible but beautiful. 3 hours and 17 minutes after the first Zarkathi ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the fleet began to retreat. No shots fired. No treaties signed. Just one universal, undeniable conclusion. Earth was not ready to be conquered. But more importantly, humanity wasn't something to defeat. It was something to survive. The sky was blue again. No more alien vessels casting kilometer-wide shadows over cities. No more electromagnetic pulses rattling birds out of the air. No more sonic weapons trying to suppress laughter, movement, or music. Just wind, sun, and the buzzing confusion of a world that had somehow, again, survived the impossible. Maya stood on the roof of the Geneva Operations Hub, hands in her pockets. She watched as children rode skateboards past security checkpoints, tagging walls with fresh graffiti. 3 hours, one planet, countless memes. She exhaled slowly. They really left. They ran, Tex corrected, striding up with a half-eaten chuo, like a possum caught in a Walmart. Gene joined them, tablet in hand. Telemetry confirms it. Every last Zarkathi vessel breached orbit and initiated jump. No sign of reinforcements. Not even goodbye. "Weird," Maya murmured. "I almost expected them to try one last play." "They did," Anya said, appearing beside her. "They tried to understand us. That was the final move. When they realized they couldn't map chaos, they opted out. Or evolved, Gene offered. You saw the last transmission. Maya nodded. Incomprehensible, but beautiful. They didn't conquer us. They witnessed us. Tex scratched his head. So what now? Global recovery? Awards? A monument built out of flaming lawn chairs and duct tape. Gene grinned. There's a petition. 3 weeks later, the world had changed, but not in the way most people expected. There were no martyrs to mourn, no shattered cities to rebuild. Instead, there were alien artifacts being auctioned on eBay, countless think pieces titled The Meme That Ended the War, and an entirely new academic field forming around asymmetrical cognitive warfare. The team was back in Geneva, debriefing with a UN panel, whose members still looked like they were trying to wake up from a fever dream. You're telling us, the chairperson said, squinting at Maya, that the Zarkothi abandoned a galactic-scale invasion because of interpretive dance, AI-powered prank calls, and a heartfelt speech about dreams? Yes, Maya replied without blinking. And you've coordinated this campaign? No, Maya said. We did. But also, everyone. She tapped a button and projected footage. Flash mobs in Sao Paulo, hackers in Estonia, farmers in Kansas launching scarecrow decoys with kites. This wasn't about command, she said. This was about humanity being uncontainable. They didn't lose to force. They lost to an idea. Anya leaned forward. They lost to the idea that we're more than we appear, that every human is a paradox, that we are wild and ordered, creative and cruel, brilliant and absurd, and that no algorithm can predict us. The panel was silent. Then one member asked, So they'll be back? Gene grinned. Now that they got therapy. Outside the briefing room, the team gathered in the sunlight. It felt earned. Tex stretched with a groan. Well, I'm going to disappear into the desert for a while. Reconnect with nature. Maybe build a trebuchet out of tumbleweeds. Gene handed him a USB stick. Take this. It's got all the code from Project Oh No. If you teach it to raccoons again, I swear I'll write a paper on it. You'd better, Tex replied, pocketing it. That raccoon was a hero. Maya turned to Anya. You knew this would happen. Not how, but that we'd win. I didn't know, Anya said, but I believed. We spend so much time preparing for strength in traditional forms. Guns, ships, shields. We forget that sometimes the strongest thing in the galaxy is a good story, or a laugh, or a spark of chaos. Maya smiled. Then what are we? Soldiers? Survivors? No, Anya replied. We're humans. That's enough. Elsewhere in the galaxy, far beyond human reach, the Zarkothi convened, not to invade, not to retaliate, to debate. The footage of Earth's resistance was now the subject of heated discourse. Philosophers watched loop clips of people hugging in bomb shelters, or teenagers using laser pointers to confuse drones. Some of the younger Zarkothi whispered with awe. They endured us, and they taught us. The old guard clung to hierarchy and tradition, but something had been cracked, fractured by the simple truth that for all their power, the Zarkothi had met a force more resilient than steel. Hope, humor, humanity. Back on Earth, the meme wars continued. A new world holiday was proposed. 3-hour day, celebrated with absurd costumes, impromptu art, and random acts of joyful rebellion. Humanity had stared down an interstellar superpower, and won, not by being perfect, but by being us. Flawed, fantastic, fierce,